Hello and welcome to another episode of the UNathletic podcast. I am your host, CJ, and today is a very special day because it is free agency. The beginning of free agency, aka counting everybody's pockets day, aka can I hold $1 day? A lot of athletes a lot of NBA players specifically are about to get cashed out. So once again, let me welcome you back to another episode of the UNathletic podcast with yours truly, CJ. Thank you once again for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also hit the notification button so that you don't miss out on any content from the podcast. And I just want to say this really quick, just to get on my soapbox real fast. I would greatly appreciate it, you guys, if you would truly like, share, and subscribe. It does not take much. It's just a button you press. I am a content creator, and so it would be great if you could just do those small things. Just like, share, and subscribe. And then also follow me on social media. I am on Instagram and on Twitter. I am a better Twitter follow. I am very active on Twitter. I am in spaces. I constantly react to things, and I am always on Twitter. I am a great Twitter follow if I do say so myself. So check me out on Twitter at CJ the Unathletic. Again, that's at CJ TheUNathletic. CJ the Unathletic. Now, on today's episode, what I want to do, I'm going to do something a little different. While I am recording, I do have my iPad in front of me, and I am going to literally, as I am talking to you all about what has happened thus far in free agency, am going to also be reacting to what has happened in free agency. So I ask that you bear with me. This is new. So far, if you have not seen the notifications from either Sham or Adrian Wojnarowski, who works for ESPN. Sham works for Stadium and also The Athletic, I believe. Those are the two media companies that he works with. You will see that there have been a flurry of deals in the first 30 minutes of free agency. And by the way, if you do not know, free agency began 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for those who don't know. And so far what has happened is the Warriors, since I am a Warrior fan and this is I'm in local area here, the Warriors have not made any moves, but they have lost JTA, who decided to sign with the Lakers. And congrats to JTA, because just for the simple fact of his story, somebody from Oakland worked his tail off to get to the league, finally gets there, and, kind of was struggling as far as, going each year, not knowing whether he was going to get back in the league and things of that nature. Then he's finally stuck in the league with the Warriors. And then, now he's a free agent, and now he is going to sign with the Los Angeles Lakers. And as much as it may pain me and Dub Nation to see him leave, I personally am happy for him, and I just want to say congratulations and thank you, Juan Toscano Anderson, Oakland native. We appreciate everything you did for the Golden State Warriors. We appreciate the work that you put in, the attitude and the grit that you provided for the Warriors. And, good luck on your future endeavors and all success with the with the Lakers, the Los Angeles Lakers. Shout out to Juan T with that one. But so far, it has been a very interesting free agency thus far. Like I said earlier, the Golden State Warriors have not done much. And this is par for the course, honestly, because from what I'm used to seeing, the Warriors normally aren't the kind of team to really work quickly in free agency, if that makes sense. They kind of like to take their time and they tend to kind of wait things out. And they're not ones to really make deals the first day of free agency. That's very rare to happen with the Warriors. At least it has been in the past few years. It's not been part of their characteristics as far as how they run the franchise and things of that nature. So let me just kind of, again, you guys bear with me. I'm going to name off some of the deals and some of the players who are in new destinations. So far, what has been reported is Kyle Anderson, formerly of the Memphis Grizzlies, has signed a 2-year deal to the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is reported by Woj, aka Adrian Wojnarowski. For 2 years, $18 million, he is going to the Minnesota Timberwolves. All right. Like I said earlier, Juan Toscano Anderson is headed to the he's headed to the Los Angeles Lakers. And then just to knock out some big deals also that went down, you had Bradley Beal signed for the Supermax. So he is back with the Washington Wizards, which for me personally, that was kind of expected. A lot of people kind of overreacted to that fact that he opted out of his deal. And just so you guys know, like, there are some players who opt out of their deals. It's not because they plan on going anywhere. It's because they plan on getting a better or new deal. And so that's what happened. Like, Bradley Beal opted out of his deal because he planned on signing a much larger deal, which is the Supermax. And I believe he got over $200 million for his contract. 5 years, and I know it's well over $200 million. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but once I do, I will give you those numbers. Also, Nikola Jokic also signed a Supermax as well, 5 years and well over $200 million. Shout out to both of them. They both deserve it. They are elite talents in the game. So they deserve to get whatever money they is that they asked for. Oh, and as we're talking free agency, right? Literally, let's say about 30 minutes before free agency started, the biggest news of the day popped. Kevin Durant asked to be traded from the Brooklyn Nets. Like, crazy, right? Kevin Durant asked for a trade after saying that he was going to stick around. After Kyrie opted into his deal, Kevin Durant goes straight to the owner of the Brooklyn Nets, Joe Tsai, and says, I want out. That is huge. And while I was on Twitter, Nets fans were in shambles. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it is insane because once again, it's proof positive as to why, certain things happen. My thoughts on the whole thing, because a lot of people are wondering where KD ends up. It's already been reported that his two top destinations, ironically, are the number one seeded Phoenix Suns, who finished first in the West, and the number one seeded Miami Heat, who finished number one in the East. And I know some of you are probably wondering, CJ, what are you trying to say? I'm not trying to say anything. Not trying to say anything. But yeah, so there's that, right? Do I believe there are any other places where Kevin Durant could end up? I mean, sure. He doesn't have to end up in Phoenix or Miami. It will be interesting to see what the package ends up being, because I guarantee that if Kevin Durant is gone, so is Kyrie. And if Kyrie and KD are gone, Ben Simmons is going to end up like that Fresh Prince meme where Will Smith walks into the empty room wondering where everybody at. Although it's hilarious because Ben Simmons did post earlier on, I believe it was Instagram. I saw it on Twitter, but I think he posted it on Instagram on his story that he's feeling incredible. He had a smirk on his face. These NBA players are next level trolls. Like people don't understand that like these NBA players really do. They love to troll. Some of them, not all of them, obviously, but some of them they just love to troll. Like they really do. Another bit of news, because now my brain's going. The Atlanta Hawks traded for DeJounte Murray. And now you're going to have a backcourt of Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. And I think that's interesting because a lot of people are questioning the fit and, you know, whether they're going to work well together. I believe they will. I can picture in my mind what the idea is that Atlanta is figuring with DeJounte Murray and with Trae Young. The idea, from what I'm thinking, is you have Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. Both are capable ball handlers, right? And now you allow both time to play off ball. I believe it works because DeJounte Murray, not being a great perimeter shooter, this opens up the floor a bit for him. So now he can slash to the rim. And then it also gives Atlanta the liberty to put Trae off ball, because I believe part of the problem with Atlanta, especially in the playoffs, was the fact that Trae was their only ball handler a lot of times on the floor and their best ball handler on the floor. But now that you add DeJounte Murray with him, it gives you a secondary ball handler on the floor, probably at all times for the most part. And then also it's the fact that you have DeJounte Murray, who's a better defender than Trae Young, obviously. So I think that's going to be very interesting for the Suns. And for San Antonio, very interesting move, only because it seems now that San Antonio is pretty much tanking. Like they gave up their best player and they're not done dealing. Like there's talk that they may trade Jakob Poeltl, who's their center, their starting center. And then I've even heard whispers that they may trade Keldon Johnson, who's a very good young player. And I'm just surprised by what I'm seeing from San Antonio. But we shall see what happens going forward. Like I said, I'm going to do my best to try to keep you guys up to date. I'm not sure how long I will be going today, but once I pretty much run out of things to say, that's probably when I'll stop. But just to go over a couple of more deals, let's see here. Let's see, what's another deal? And this is lesser known, but if you're a sports fan, you probably know this. The Detroit Pistons, yes, the Detroit Pistons have been having one heck of an offseason, at least in my opinion, right? In the draft, they did a great job of winning the draft, in my opinion, because they got Jaden Ivey. They traded for Jalen Duren, the center out of Memphis. And then they also were able to now get Kevin Knox. And then they actually made a very underrated trade themselves when they traded with the Knicks and went and got Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel. Very underrated move. Why is that? Because now you add veterans to this young Detroit squad. You now have three bigs. You have Isaiah Stewart, who I believe this will be his third year in the league, I think. Second or third, I can't remember right now. But you have him. You have Jalen Duren, who's a rookie. And then now you have Nerlens Noel, who's a more established veteran. And that's always helpful. And then you have Alec Burks, who will be a very good bench piece and bench player for Detroit. So I like what Troy Weaver is doing in Detroit. He's building something very, very nice in Detroit. So Detroit fans should be very excited. And Detroit basketball is probably going to be a chant that we're going to start hearing again. Another deal that's out there that's been reported is JaVale McGee signing with the Dallas Mavericks for 3 years and $20 million. Much to my chagrin, because I actually kind of wanted the Warriors to try to bring JaVale back. I thought that JaVale had done a great job while he was with the Golden State Warriors. He was incredible as a backup big. And I think that, regardless of the fact that the Warriors have James Wiseman and hopefully will bring back Kevon Looney, I definitely want them to add a third big, simply because with Wiseman's recent injury history, you just want to be able to supplement time for these guys, because you don't want to wear down Looney after, playing every single game this year, including the postseason. But also the fact that James Wiseman, who is not fully healthy, or not fully healthy, it's the fact that he's come off of injuries. You don't want to run him down either. And I just like the idea of having three bigs in rotation, because it gives you some flexibility, and it also gives you some versatility even. So I like the idea of adding a third big. But like I said, JaVale McGee went to the Dallas Mavericks. Another deal, or not another deal, but let me say another report that's out there. As I stated earlier, Kevin Durant is requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets. A lot of reports out there are saying that with Kyrie also being on his way out the door, there are people who are saying that Kyrie is already telling people that he's headed to the Lakers. And then there's a lot of people who are saying that the Lakers are going to be going after Kyrie. He's their number one target. And just to report right now, I just got a tweet. Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting that free agent guard DeLon Wright has agreed to a 2-year, $16 million deal, to sign with the Washington Wizards. Another guy that I know some Warrior fans were definitely interested in, but he is out of the picture, and he is going to the Washington Wizards. I will say this, for Warrior fans and just for fans of any fan base, if your team hasn't done anything on the first day of free agency, don't overreact. Pay attention to how your team usually, operates during free agency. For me, the reason why I'm not really tripping off of what the Warriors are or are not doing is for the simple fact that, number one, behind closed doors, I guarantee you, they are talking to players, agents, and trying to see who wants to come. And guys have just made it clear that they don't want to. And it is what it is. Everybody doesn't always want to come to your team. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. So, at the end of the day, it is what it is. But I would just strongly suggest that you not overreact, because then you're just going to get your blood pressure up and you're going to tire yourself out. So, just know that it'll be fine. I have faith that the Warriors are going to make some good moves to improve their team. I already like what they did draft-wise. And then also take into consideration the internal development. Every team doesn't need to make a whole bunch of moves to improve. If there's internal development along with good drafting, as well as good business moves as far as within free agency, you don't have to overexert yourself and be over concerned about what your team does. They're like these teams, these front offices, these owners, they know what they're doing. Sometimes they don't, but more times than not, they do. And if you are a Warrior fan, trust in Bob Myers, trust in Joe Lacob, and trust in the organization, because I am telling you right now, I am not panicking over the fact that the Warriors have not made any moves, because a lot of what's going on right now, I believe, was expected. At least in my book, it was. So I'm not overly concerned about what's going on as far as in free agency. It is exactly what I expected. So once again, like I said, there are still a lot of deals to be made, whether it's through free agent signings or through trade. For example, John Collins it's been reported that his people are saying that he wants out of Atlanta. Something that I'm not surprised by. It's been reported throughout the season that he's not happy with his role there. And as of late, the only team that I know of that's been reported to have interest in John Collins is the Washington Wizards, which is interesting just because I know that they've been trying to build something better around Bradley Beal. So adding John Collins is going to be intriguing, putting him at the 4 with Bradley Beal, adding more offensive firepower around Bradley Beal. And another thing I just popped in my head that I remembered is that the Washington Wizards did make a deal with the Denver Nuggets. The Washington Wizards traded away Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, as well as Denver did, excuse me. Denver got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and I believe the other player is Ish Smith. And in return, the Washington Wizards got Will Barton and Monte Morris. This is one of those deals, in my opinion, that's a very win-win deal, a rare win-win deal. For Denver, they got perimeter defense in KCP. Ish Smith, a decent backup guard. Not sure if he sticks just because they do have Bones Highland. So who knows? Maybe they do keep him just in case. But they did add defense with KCP, which is something that Denver sorely lacked as far as the perimeter defense. And then for the Wizards, they get Will Barton, who's buckets off the bench. And then they also get a very good backup guard in Monte Morris, who a lot of teams honestly coveted, I believe, during the trade deadline. But, Denver decided not to move him at the time. So for me, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I think it's very intriguing. So, there's other deals out there to be made. I'm looking at a list right now of best free agents available. DeAndre Ayton is still out there. And although he is a restricted free agent, he is somebody that many believe Phoenix is going to get rid of. And in light of Kevin Durant being interested in going to the Phoenix Suns, maybe a sign and trade deal is happening where you put DeAndre Ayton in the deal and you send him to Brooklyn. But who knows? I don't know if that happens. Maybe he ends up somewhere else. You never know. There's also Miles Bridges, which unfortunately Miles Bridges has a situation. If you do not know, I'm just going to go over this real quickly. I'm not going to talk about it really just because the situation itself is actually pretty sad. But Miles Bridges was last night, I believe, charged with domestic violence, and the victim was severely harmed to the point where she needed to be taken to the hospital and needed medical attention. Again, terrible situation. Prayers for the victim and her family. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to just leave it at that because I want to really keep this basketball, and I'm not trying to divert that right now. Mitchell Robinson, another free agent big that's available, but I do believe he'll be heading back to the Knicks. Young big, intriguing big, because he's definitely a rim runner and also a shot blocker, so he's very intriguing. And, still has a lot of potential inside of him left. So, it's going to be interesting to see who goes after him or if he stays in New York with the Knicks. There's also Andre Drummond, who there's been reports that the Knicks are interested in him as well as the Brooklyn Nets, which that may have changed now that KD and Kyrie went out. it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. I also heard Philly is interested in bringing Andre Drummond back. I personally would not mind if he ended up with the Warriors, because at this point in his career, I think he understands that he's a backup big, which to me, I mean, if you put him, Wiseman, and Looney on the Warriors, I think that's nasty, but that's just me. You also have TJ Warren. If you guys don't remember TJ Warren played for the Indiana Pacers, and he is basically a bucket. Like, the dude just scores. He's a very good scorer. Got into it with Jimmy Butler in the bubble, actually. He was playing for Indiana at the time, and him and Jimmy Butler got into it. TJ Warren was like balling in the bubble. Like, if you guys remember, he was balling. I mean, the dude was putting up 20 and 30 points a game. It was insane. And so that's somebody who's available. Going to be interesting to see where he ends up. Colin Sexton, who I believe is a restricted free agent, is available, plays for the Cavs as of right now. I know that the Cavs do want to bring him back, but I also know that there are teams that are interested, like Cleveland and Indiana as well. There's also Kemba Walker, who's out there. He got traded to Detroit, but then bought out immediately after. You have Bruce Brown, Carmelo Anthony, GP2, Yusuf Nurkic. Don't know why they have Bruce Brown on here twice, but Otto Porter Jr., Kevon Looney, Dante DiVincenzo, and then last but not least, you also have Dennis Schroeder. Those are not the only guys who are available, but I just read off a list of what someone believes to be the best available free agents. So once again, like I said, free agency, crazy time. Guys are getting paid a boatload of money. It's ridiculous. Fans get to be excited because their teams retool and reformulate, or they're rebuilding. And so it's exciting. And then the thing is, too, is like I said, there are a lot of trades that are still out there. There are a lot of guys who still want to be moved. And there are a lot of teams who still have targets for guys that they want to put on their team. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen going forward. Very exciting time. I love this time of year because it just, it's exciting. You get to see who goes where. Fan bases overreact to everything. And then we get to see who wins the NBA championship on paper. Yes, I said on paper, because if you remember last year, after what the Lakers and the Brooklyn Nets did, many people thought it would be Lakers and Brooklyn Nets in the finals, but that was not the case. There were even many who thought it would be a Phoenix-Milwaukee rematch. But as we all know, that was not the case either. It was the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics who made it to the finals. And the Golden State Warriors are your reigning, defending NBA champions. So, like I said, free agency has slowed down, but that tends to happen. The first hour of free agency is what's really where the activity is at. A lot of deals get made, and then it slows down. And honestly, because of the fact that Kyrie and KD want to be traded, trust and believe, nothing major is really going to happen until those two get moved. If anything, I would be on lookout for teams to make any kind of moves that would either be deals that allow them to clear up cap space, or to bring in contracts that they could immediately flip. Like, and I'm not talking about like flip like within the next like week or so, because that's not really how deals work. But say in the next month or so, something like that, right? I expect teams to be very active in trying to get people like Kevin Durant, John Collins, DeAndre Ayton, Kyrie Irving. I believe there's another name that I'm not thinking of that also wants to be traded, but my mind is not allowing me to think of it. But and another piece, I'll just say this real quick. For me personally, who would I like for the Warriors to sign. I'm not going to give names, but I'll give you the gist of what I would like to see. I want the Warriors to sign a veteran guard to back up Steph. I want them to sign another veteran wing behind, Wiggs and Clay and whatnot. And then I also want them to add a veteran big. Like I said, I would love to have like a 3-man rotation at the center position. And then, like I said before, the Warriors already have Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Jordan Poole, Draymond Green. They're all under contract. They have the guys that they drafted. They also have Wiseman under contract still. So, like, as far as filling out the rest of the roster, I would definitely want them to bring in, like I said, another guard, wing, and big. I think that would be a great way to finish out the roster because the other thing is that the Warriors don't have a whole lot of maneuverability as far as cap space and things of that nature. So, like, it's going to be difficult for them to make a lot of moves. And that goes for every other organization and team in the league as well. Like, every team has a different cap situation. So there's only so much they can do as far as adding guys or trading guys and things of that nature. So also keep that in mind when you're reacting to these deals and things of that nature. And when you're reacting to the lack of moves that your favorite team may be making. And remember, this is only day one. So much time left. Trust me, your team is going to make some kind of move, just like I believe the Warriors are going to make some kind of move. So I'm not overly concerned, but I appreciate you guys for tuning in again. I am going to end here because it seems like things have kind of dried up on the free agency route for the day. And, like I said, follow me on Twitter because I'll be reacting and retweeting all of that stuff. But once again, thank you again for tuning in to this week's episode of the UNathletic podcast. Once again, please like, share, and subscribe. I beg of you, please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe. Why? Because if you like what I'm talking about, you like what I have to say, and you like what I'm doing here, you're going to want to see it every Friday when I post this. And you're not going to want to miss, right? Like, why not? And then because it's me. Like, it's me. Support me, okay? And if you don't like what I have to say, that's fine. Tell somebody else who's a sports fan. Word of mouth works still too. But also, hit that notification button so you don't miss out on any content from the podcast. And once again, please follow me on Twitter and Instagram at CJ the Unathletic. Again, that's CJ TheUnathletic. I will see y'all when I see y'all. Enjoy free agency. And once again, remember, this is only day one of free agency. And by the time you guys see this video, it will be day 2. Peace. And I will see y'all later.